Will 770 be encompassed in the third Beis Hamikdash?
Let's start from what the Rabbi explains. In a synopsis of the idea that the Rabbi explains, we know that Reb Shimon ben Yochai said, Kol makom shegalu shchina imaim. When the Jewish people went into Galus, any place that we went into Galus, the Shechina was with us. And the Gemara continues to ask, Bibavel Heicha, where is the Shechina found in Bavel? The Gemara says, Bebeknishta deshav v'yasiv binarda, in a specific shul that moved and came and settled in Narda. What does that mean? Let's go back to the beginning of what the Beis Hamikdash is. The Beis Hamikdash is, like the Rambam says, a bayis l'Hashem. It's a house for Hashem. A house in which Hashem's Shechina can be revealed. We are human beings in this world, in a physical world where godliness is not revealed. There's one place in the space of the physical world where the Shechina itself is revealed, and that is the Beis Hamikdash. From that, and as a result of that, the rest of the world also gets the Shechina of Hashem as well. Where is this? Specifically amongst the Jewish people, because the Jewish people are Hashem's chosen nation in whom the Shechina rests, and therefore in the Jewish people that's where Hashem's Shechina rests, in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, in Har HaBayis, etc. Now, we know that Leilam Leizaza Shechina Mikaisel HaMaravi, the Shechina never left the Kaisel HaMaravi, never left the place of Har HaBayis. Like the Rambam says, that the Beis Hamikdash is called because of the Shechina, and Shechina Eina B'Teila, the Shechina never leaves. However, once the Jewish people went into Galus, despite the fact that the Shechina is still in its place in Yerushalayim, but now we say that Kol Makom Shegalu Shechina Imayim, when the Jewish people go into Galus together with the Jews, in Galus is the revelation of the Shechina, and that's why the Gemara asks, Heicha, where is it? And what does that mean? It's like the Rebbe brings from the saying of Rabbi Yochanan, that every single place where there is a Mikdash Ma'at, where there's a shul, a Beis Medrash, that's the place where Hashem's presence is found. Nevertheless, just like there was a Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim, which that was the primary place where Hashem's presence was revealed, it must be that there's also in Galus a Beis Hamikdash, the main Mikdash Ma'at, where Hashem's presence is revealed. And that's why we say, which one is it? So we say this is the main place, Shafi Yasiv, and like Rashi explains, Nasa Mikdash B'Yashav Sham. The Mikdash traveled and settled in that place. So to speak, that's the place of the Beis Hamikdash. And the Rebbe continues to explain that this means that in every generation there's the main shul, which that's the shul of the Nasi Adair, of the leader of the generation. The leader of the generation is the one who teaches Torah to the entire generation. And just like the Beis Hamikdash, what was the place of the Shechina? It says, Lishichna isidreshu vasa shama. What does that mean? There's the Shechina revealed in the Beis Hamikdash. Where? In the Lishkas HaGazis, which is right next to the Mizbeach, and it's in the Azara of the Beis Hamikdash. What's the Lishkas HaGazis? That's the place where the Sanhedrin sit and where they teach the Jewish people the Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah. So also there's the Nasi Adair, the main teacher who teaches Torah to the entire generation. And in his place, which we say, Ein la Kadosh Baruch Hu ba'olam me'aladal damish al halacha bilvad. Hashem has in his world only 4 amis of halacha, the place where the Torah is taught by the leader of the generation, and everyone comes to learn Torah from him. That's the main place where the Shechina rests in Galus. Once the Jewish people go into Galus, the Shechina comes with them. Now, what happens when Mashiach comes? We know that with regards to Galus and Geula, it's not a change, but rather it's revealing and taking what was there in Galus and revealing its proper and full potential. Which means, obviously, that once Mashiach comes, it's not that we're going to leave the Shechina that was with us in Galus, but we're going to take it with us. And like it says, Kishehem Nigalin, then the Shechina Shava Imayim, when the Jewish people are redeemed, the Shechina returns with them. V'shava Hashem aleikecha, Shavuot says Hashem will return, not He will make you return, He will return with you. So when the Geula comes, Hashem comes back with us, but also together with the place where He was during the time of Galus. And like we say in the Gemara, Asidin Bate Knasiyos, Shebe Bate Midrashes, Shebe Bavali Kava Be Beis Hamikdash. The shuls and the Bate Medrash of Bavel will become established, Yerushalayim will become established, Yerushalayim, and specifically in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, that means every place where there's a Mikdash Ma'at, where the Shechina rests, is going to become connected to the central place of the Shechina, which is the third Beis Hamikdash. If, as we said, there's one main shul where that's the primary place where the Shechina is revealed in the time of Galus, when Mashiach comes, that place will specifically come and connect itself to the Beis Hamikdash. And as the Rabbi explains, that place is going to connect itself directly to the Beis Hamikdash, and through it, all the other shuls will also be connected to the Beis Hamikdash. This place, in the final generation of Galus, is 770 Eastern Parkway. That's the shul, the Beis Knesses, the Beis Medrash of the Nasi Adair, of the leader of the generation. That's how the Rebbe explains it. Now, perhaps it would be interesting to add, and this is something which is just an interesting point. It's not coming directly from the Rebbe's Sikha, but it perhaps helps us understand the Rebbe's Sikha. If we look at the form of the third Beis Hamikdash, the third Beis Hamikdash has an outer courtyard and an inner courtyard. The second Beis Hamikdash and the first Beis Hamikdash had a lower courtyard and a higher courtyard. The lower courtyard was known as the Ezras Nashim. The Ezras Nashim does not really have any specific kedusha on its own. The holiness and the laws of the Ezras Nashim are just like the rest of Harabais. You're allowed to sit there. You're allowed to have not just a tamei mace, but even dead person himself should be there, etc. Now the truth is, in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, they learned from certain psukim and they made extra halachas in the Ezras Nashim that it has a higher level than the rest of Harabais. But essentially, it's not considered a real part of the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash, you're not allowed to sit. In the Ezras Nashim, one can sit. Now, therefore, also something else very interesting. The Lishkas HaGazis was not in the Ezras Nashim. The Lishkas HaGazis was open to the actual Azara of the inner, the higher courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash, which is part of the Beis Hamikdash. And the reason for that is because it has to be part of the actual Beis Hamikdash. So although they had to sit in the Lishkas HaGazis, the Sanhedrin has to sit, so it was half in the Beis Hamikdash, half outside, half inside, but it was open to the Beis Hamikdash. Which means that if we're saying now, like we said, the third Beis Hamikdash is not a lower courtyard and a higher courtyard. The third Beis Hamikdash is an outer courtyard which completely surrounds the inner courtyard, but that's like the Ezras Nashim. And then an inner courtyard, which is the Azara where the Mizbeach is, etc. Obviously, if 770 is going to be directly connected to the third Beis Hamikdash, it can't be connected just to the outer courtyard, because that wouldn't be just like the Lishkas HaGazis couldn't. It has to be directly open and connected to the inner Azara. Now, in the third Beis Hamikdash, we see a very interesting thing. Number one, just for interest, the Heichal, unlike the second Beis Hamikdash, because again, the second Beis Hamikdash and the first Beis Hamikdash had a lower courtyard and a higher courtyard. The Heichal is all the way on the west, all the way in the back, which means it's within the walls of the inner courtyard. The third Beis Hamikdash, the Heichal is all the way in the back as well, in the west, But that's not within the walls of the inner courtyard. That's actually in the walls of the outer courtyard. It just opens to the inner courtyard. Now, next to the Heichel, there's a structure on either side. Some say even 4 structures, which have nothing like it in the first and second Beis Hamikdash. It's the only place in the entire Beis Hamikdash that Rashi says 3 times, I don't understand in this at all. I don't know anything about it. And then Rashi adds, everything I know about the Beis Hamikdash, I didn't have a teacher who taught it to me. I learned it, I was shown from heaven. But this, I don't know about it at all. What is this structure? It's a structure which is 50 ames wide, 100 ames long, 3 stories high. Okay? Where is the place of this structure? And then, where is the place of the structure? It's connected to the wall of the inner Azara. In fact, there's even a tunnel from it to the inner Azara. Now, although its openings are to the outer Azara, the halacha, it says, is that this structure has a halacha like the inner Azara, like the Beis Hamikdash itself. Almost similar exactly to the Lishkas Hagazis. But it's a huge structure of 3 floors. According to one opinion in Rashi, there'll even be a basement under it. Then the pasuk starts describing the structure and describing how the top floor becomes narrower than the first 2 floors. And on the top floor it has mishulashim. It has like these triangles, which is atik mul atik. There's a corner which is right parallel to another corner, or a beam in the corner. The description, if we can take it and describe it as anything, it's quite very much describing 770. The description of the 3-floor building with a basement and with the top floor where it gets narrower, and the top floor you describe a mishulashim, an atik mul atik. It's perhaps a direct description of 770, which will also explain why Rashi wasn't there yet. Rashi wasn't shown it. Which would explain what the purpose of this structure is. Although it says the kohanim will eat the meat inside it, it still almost doesn't explain why you have such a large structure for that. The purpose of this structure would be, this is where 770, where the Beis Hamikdash, the way it was in Bavel, but this has the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash, and it has in it the full holiness of the Beis Hamikdash. It's completely connected to the Beis Hamikdash. That is something which, again, it doesn't say that in the Sikha, but it's something which perhaps if we look at the Psukim, it seems very clear that we can understand where the place of 770 in the third Beis Hamikdash. And again, because this is the place where the Shechina was in Galus, and therefore when it comes to Beis Hamikdash, the Shechina continues inside it, and it continues to be actually totally and completely parallel to the Heichel and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And then opening, it touches, in the end, it touches the wall of the Azara, but its place, it's almost with no interruption between it. There's just a small interruption between it and the actual walls of the Heichel and the Kodesh HaKadoshim.